Tonight on Frontline, America's retirement crisis.
It's tough to really worry about retirement right now. I guess plan B would be to keep working.
My retirement plan is fingers crossed and pray, basically.
Even if you have a 401k or IRA, will you have the money you need to retire?
If you make $100,000 a year, you need $1.5 million to be okay.
A lot of 401k programs are lousy.
You put up 100% of the capital, you take 100% of the risk, and you get 30% of the return.
Correspondent Martin Smith investigates.
So make it simple.
That's a question that can only be answered on what your risk appetite is. If you don't
this isn't making it simple.
Well, I wish it was simpler.
If you want to gamble with your retirement money, be my guest.
Tonight on Frontline, the retirement gamble.
The 401k is one of the only products that Americans buy that they don't know the price of it. It's also one of the products that Americans buy that they don't even know its quality. It's one of the products that Americans buy that they don't know its danger. And it's because the industry, the mutual fund industry, have been able to protect themselves against regulation that would expose the danger and price of their products.
The effects of the current economic crisis have touched everyone. Even if you still have a good job and a paid-up mortgage, chances are your monthly 401k statement will remind you that you've lost a good chunk of your savings. Trillions of dollars have evaporated from those accounts that have become the prime source of retirement funds for a majority of American workers, affecting their psyche and their future. If you're still young enough, there's time to rebuild and recover. But if you're in your 50s or 60s or beyond, the consequences can be dire. And it's drawing attention to the shortcomings of a retirement system that's jeopardized the financial security of tens of millions of people.
The fact is that the typical 401k investor is a financial novice. They don't know a stock from a line. And we give them a list of 20 or 30 mutual funds with really, really powerful names. You know, they sound like, gee, that's where I want to have my money.
What are generally the quality of the mutual funds and 401k plans?
Mediocre. I'm going to be real honest with you. With half the funds on the list, really dogs, what people would characterize as dogs, shouldn't be on the list to start with.
There clearly has been a raid on these funds by the people of Wall Street, and it's cost the savers and the future retirees a lot of money that would otherwise be in their account, independent of the financial collapse.
Representative George Miller of California is chairman of the House Committee on Education and Labor and a staunch critic of the 401k industry, especially its practice of deducting more than a dozen undisclosed fees from its clients' 401k accounts.
Now you got a bunch of economic wizards jumping in and taking money out of your retirement plan, and they don't want to tell you how much. You can't decipher it in simple English, and they're not interested in disclosing it or having any transparency about it.
And most of the people that look at their 401ks have no idea that these fees are being taken out.
No. Where would you find it? Where would you find these fees in this prospectus? You can look on any page you want, and when you're all done reading, and you will find some of the fees and the commissions here, but you won't find them all, and I bet you won't find half of them.
There are legal fees, trustee fees, transactional fees, stewardship fees, bookkeeping fees, finder's fees, and the list goes on and on. Miller's committee has heard testimony that they can eat up half the income in some 401k plans over a 30-year span, but he has not been able to stop it.
We tried to just put in some disclosure and transparency in these fees, and we felt the full fury of that financial lobbying.
David Ray, a lobbyist for the 401k industry, says he favors disclosing the fees, but his partners in the financial industry don't. You think most people know these fees exist?
I think they know that there are fees. They don't know exactly how large they are.
Why do you think the financial services industry is opposed to fee transparency?
I don't know that they're opposed to it. I think the issue is...
You don't think they're opposed to it?
Well, they want to keep...
You're a lobbyist in Washington, right? You know they're opposed to it. George Miller hasn't been able to get a bill to the floor.
I think they want to keep the systems as simple and not make changes. They like the way things are, and whenever you push people out of their comfort zones, you know, it's an issue.
I mean, they're comfortable with the situation because they're making a ton of money, or they have made a ton of money.
With us now to unveil this week's new issue of Time magazine, Time's managing editor, Richard Stengel. Rick, what are we looking at this week?
Well, we're looking at a subject that is bothering millions and millions of Americans, 70 million Americans to be exact. It is the problem of 401ks and why we need to retire the 401k and why it's not working for millions of Americans.
Yeah. So what do we do instead?
Well, what we propose instead is a insurance pension plan, where instead of paying that money into a 401k, you pay it into an insurance plan that guarantees you a pension.
Since the 401k first came into existence in the early 1980s, it's become the retirement plan of choice for all companies, big and small. Today, there's over $3.5 trillion in 401k plans, and really they're the largest profit center, one of them, for major insurance, payroll, and Wall Street firms. So by now, you'd think with decades of compounding, those baby boomers would be financially set. But we all know that's far from the truth. Why? Because there's a hole in your investment bucket, and it's draining your financial future. What is it? Well, Vanguard's founder, John Bogle, who's been one of the most respected investment professionals for almost 60 years, calls the problem the tyranny of compounding fees. Your fees are eating you alive. Consider this. Most plans are constructed by actively managed mutual funds. In other words, these are people, they're funds that are trying to beat the stock market. But in the last 10 years, only 4% of all the 8,500 plus mutual funds have ever been able to beat the market. And in any 10-year period, it's a different 4%. That means 96% of them failed. And if you look at the numbers over the last 15 years, it's the same 96%. Different people, same ratio. How much of an impact do fees really have on your future? People have no sense of the reality. According to Bloomberg, if you have a lifetime of investing, you can say basically goodbye to half of your investment nest egg in fees. John Bogle, the founder of Vanguard, again, is even more direct. He says, imagine that you're in a business where you put up all the money, you take all the risk. If you lose, you lose. But your investment partner, the person just handling the funds for you, gets up to 70% of your profits over the lifetime of your investing.